So, I mean, if we, so we've done our top five, but I wanted to see if we can talk briefly about just the music industry in general, because one of the things that what's, was a shock for me was listening and in talking to by talking to almost 50 of these R&B acts and hearing their horror stories. Because as a music fan, here I am listening, watching, buying their albums, watching their videos, thinking they're
Hmm.
living a high life, and not realizing that record contracts with bad record contracts, managers taking their money, that they actually have to live on their tour income. So if they get a couple of hits, they go on the road performing those hits,
Hmm.
and that's where they make their bread and butter. For those people who are not American, we don't realize that they have other things like health insurance that they have to find and pay for. You have to pay
Right.
for your 401k, so your retirement fees, which you start wondering, how do you manage all that and become a singer and an artist? Um, so
I
what are
mean,
your yeah
it's a rented. People understand it's a show business and it's a rented lifestyle. Like all of the things you see, you have to think also. The record companies are developing a lot of cases. I don't know if they're still doing it because I know they've done away with a lot of the A&R departments and all of that stuff, the development art departments. But a lot of these record labels are investing in these artists and creating these images and buying the wardrobe and um, providing a lifestyle. A lot of these artists are, they're putting them up in not a hotel, but like they put them up in an apartment, and they live in apartments or houses that are rented for them. Like, so it is an illusion, and it's show business, and it's all about the shine, the glitter, that's what people buy into. And
mm,
but that's not necessarily what it is. Going into the business, you have to understand what you have to offer, but also what you stand to gain or lose. You have to weigh those things out. And I think that there's not just in the music industry, film industry, it's different things that I think we have an unrealistic idea of how it works, and that's why there's a sucker born every day. So right now, I think with the artist, like for example, we watch the rap videos and we see the guys with the wads of cash or them
yeah
driving the vehicles. That's what young boys and girls, or young people, that is what they aspire to have. So of course you're going to put that in front of them. You're going to sell that lifestyle, that Jimmy Dean lifestyle of living recklessly, and you know what I'm saying. So
mm.
let's say Jimmy Dean. Okay, that's
Well,
sausage. James.
James Dean, yeah.
I'm hungry right now, guys. Sorry,
Yeah.
but no. I think that we get too caught up in the imagery and the marketing of it. Um, so yeah, it's unfortunate that's unfortunate, but I think artists have to be a little bit more smart out of what they want. If you are an artist that can write, make sure you never give away your publishing. I don't care what they offer you, never give it away. If you're not a writer, this is the
Yeah.
thing. Someone like Rihanna, they made her a star. They gave her songs. So the smart thing she's doing is she's not probably making money off of the actual songs. I think she owns her, if I'm not mistaken, though, I think she bought her masters. But if she hasn't, she's created other revenues of revenue streams
Mm.
to bring her money. So you have to kind of go in business minded, like she's done the perfume and the clothing lines and things like that. You have to go in, if you're not a writer or you're not a producer or whatever, or something that you can get another check from, then you have to kind of think in that line of
Yeah,
thought.
but when you think of it, the majority of because what happens is you have um people who can sing in, say, in church and school, and they love their
Mhm.
singing, and they see their favorite acts on TV, and they have all this American Idol, The Voice and things, and they're like trying to get themselves a record deal because that's
Right,
how you become an artist. What has been sad is that the fact that the industry has been sold as become a recording artist and become rich,
right.
as opposed to I love to sing, and even if I wasn't getting paid, I'll still enjoy singing. So all of a
Right.
sudden, they're chasing the dreams and the money, and the actual vocals and the singing becomes secondary. So when you're really chasing that, and somebody says, "Okay, you want to be rich? Sign here." Now, Don Robinson says, they gave us the contracts. My parents wouldn't know what to do. We took it to a lawyer, but the lawyer says, "Yeah, this is standard recording contract. Sign it." Yeah, it's
Mm.
standard for what? For R&B acts? Is it standard for what, new artists? The same thing with Tabitha Duncan from Cut Close. She said they had them sign a 7 album deal. 7 album deal. I mean, who comes up with seven? I mean, I don't know if Michael Jackson came out with 7 albums. I mean, unless you're
Right.
Prince, 7 albums. So that means you're tied down to, a slave contract. So, but then this is your only way in. So they know that you're desperate to get in, so they can do that. And I think things
Well,
are
I mean, you
changing.
hit on it. You hit it. Like there's desperation, you know, and people take advantage of it. You know, there's literally people lined up ready to go to Hollywood because they want to be a star. And
Yeah,
so if you're not going to take that deal, someone else will. And so
somebody else will.
um yeah, there is a part of it where some people say, "Oh, I would do this for free" and all of that. But let's not be naive. You have to live, you have to pay rent, you have to have money to exist in this world. So I think that you're hearing a lot of naivete. I don't know the word for it, but naive people that are just kind of going into it. I mean, you can't be as naive to think that, okay, I'm not going to read this contract, I'm going to just sign it. Like, you have to know what you're getting into, and you have to also look at the record company, what they're investing in you. Like, they're investing hundreds of thousands, a lot of times millions of dollars into these artists, where they're placing. We're not hearing the stories of, okay, with Cut Close, how much did the record company have to pay for the videos? How long did they have to pair them with different producers to find the right sound? Because there's some artists, some groups, or some solo artists that record almost hundreds of songs before they actually get the right bunch of songs. So what about all those songs that were recorded on the record company's dime? Then you have to do the imagery and different things like that. So there's investment in you, and so that's why they want to lock you into those contracts, because they want to make sure they can get that money back from you. If they spent, that's why when TLC, they went broke, they were still recouping off the first album and the second album, and you never stop recouping, because it just, once it's
Yeah.
starting to take off and become bigger and bigger, they got to
So
invest more money.
now, if the interview I did with 112, Mike and Slim, the one interesting thing they mentioned during that time was that they were signed to a production deal that was
Right.
signed to Bad Boy, and Bad Boy was signed to Arista. Arista's part of BMG. So BMG says, here's $1 million. Arista gives it to Bad Boy. They take their slice. They give it to the production team. They take their slice, and then 112 are indebted to the $1 million. But even though they've only had 300,000 to spend, but they still have to recoup back that million. And they said to Bad Boy, look, it's not working out. We can't. This production deal is taking everything from our imagery, our merchandise, our shows, and it's we need a change. It's so there's and who
But let's ask this question,
yeah.
because okay, they didn't. I mean, this is the thing. Did they need that middleman though? Did they need it? Did they need the production company to get to Bad Boy? Or did they need the Bad Boy to get to Arista? I think that these artists have to also realize that if it wasn't for, the Bad Boy deal or the production deal that they were signed to, you may have not gotten to the Arista. You may not have gotten a record deal or distribution that you thought. That's why a lot of people, I think there's so much independence now with artists, and anybody can put anything out now. It's a illusion of how much actually goes into making a star. Um, I mean, Diddy's stamp on 112 is what made them win out the gate. He, I understand that they said they produced a lot and that they did, but it was the stamping of Diddy that made them a household name, made people open to listen to them, because there were several groups coming out at the same time that we don't even remember.
Yeah.
We don't, because they didn't have that stamp of approval from the latest person out that were just, there was a group called Elements of Life.
Oh
Guys
yeah,
could
yeah,
really sing. I
yeah,
love their voices, but they didn't have the stamp of a big time rapper or producer on
yeah.
their singles. I could name off a whole bunch of groups, but they they have been fortunate enough to have hit after hit after hit and have a career that, even though they don't necessarily own those records, they can tour off those records and make money now. Whereas Elements of Life, we don't know who they are. Can they tour? Yes, but off of what? We don't know any of their records because they
Yeah.
didn't have that stamp. So I think it's the naive. You can't be naive coming into this, no, not realizing you're going to lose something, because you're coming to the table with your talent. Now, if they were to, let's say, okay, they produce, bring your album to the label, like the artists do now, produce your records, put all of the stuff together, market it, and you do all of the stuff, and you just bring it to the label, and you partner with the label to have them put it out, it would have been different.
Yeah.
But they were relying on the resources of the
Yeah.
production company, relying on the resources of Bad Boy, relying on the resources of Arista Records. So you're not going to get as big of. That's why when they said they signed to Def Jam after that, even though that album wasn't as successful as the prior albums, they said that they seen more money off that deal
Yeah.
than they did in that other one,
And you know
because
what?
they were direct.
Even
I'm
intro,
sorry.
even intro, and Changing Faces. So when they left their production deal and went straight to Atlantic, they said they would never have made they made more money because the money was coming directly to them and wasn't being
Right.
seasoned out. But I look at this and think, supposing you go into an Olive Garden or Arby's and you order a meal and order steak and some and fries and all that stuff. They've not given you the menu, so you have no idea how much it costs. So you say, yeah,
Hmm.
and your assumption is you know it's not going to be more than 15, $20. But because you've not seen a menu, they come and say, "Here, it's $1,000. You've eaten it, so you need to pay us $1,000." Now, if you'd seen the menu before you ordered, you would have thought, "Well, that's too expensive. I'm gonna see what I can afford." Record labels do not. You don't sign. They don't tell you that this album, if it goes platinum, will generate 10. Just say $10 million. If it goes
Right.
platinum, you we take 80. We're going to take 8 million from that. That's our profit because we have to pay our cost and our building and landlords and all that stuff.
Right.
Out of that 2 million, we're gonna then from that 2 million that we're gonna split with you, we're gonna pay for your music videos and all the costs we put in there. So we're sharing only the 2 million with you, and from that we're taking all
But you
these
got the
costs back. And
right.
so when you were
But that's business. I mean,
when you're ordering the
when you
taxi, when you were staying in, you wanted the first class stuff, we're recouping that. Oh, when you wanted Hype Williams to direct your video, we said no problem, but we're going to take it out of that 2 million. The 8 million is our profit. We're going to take it out of that
right,
2 million.
you don't
Plus,
you don't stay
we
in business being fair. You
plus
don't. You just don't.
we own. We're going to own the music that you've recorded, so that's ours as well.
Hmm.
Now, if you sign up and they explain it very plainly that this is what you're getting yourself into, you can think, whoa, okay, maybe um, I can reduce my costs. Do I know that I'm not overspending? Do I, if I get Hype Williams, can I have him shoot 4 videos on that one set so that it's we're doing different parts, so it costs. You go in knowing that, oh, maybe we shouldn't be ordering room service, knowing that it's coming out of our paycheck. Or when they called us up to say, hey, we've got some new Rolex watches. Oh, we didn't
Hmm.
realize it's coming out of our budget, but we thought you guys were giving us a gift. If that's known to the artist, then you think a lot better. So that's
Well,
the
let me stop you there, because you're making the mistake of thinking that if the artist knew, they will make a different choice. I think a lot of artists have such a desperation that they want that success, they want that potential success, they're willing to make the gamble because, like with Dawn and other artists said, they're thinking, well, I can renegotiate when I'm successful. But even not even thinking like that, this opportunity, a lot of these people, you have to remember, some of these people are coming from absolute poverty. They're
Mm.
coming from nothing, and they want to escape that environment, and they want to be loved. There's other issues people don't talk about, like, let's say, I don't want to go into people specifically, but there are different psychological reasons why people want to be famous. There's things that are missing in their personal life, or something that's happened to them, in their childhood, where they're seeking validation from. We can get real deep with that, but I'm not gonna go in that direction. But let's just say
Mm.
there's things going on psychologically also that make these people want that kind of validation. Now, going back to your restaurant and that metaphor, why I would ask, why did you go to the restaurant in the first place? Were you going to the restaurant because the restaurant was the most popular, famous restaurant that's got the best food? You didn't have to go to that restaurant. So I think that the thing is, you don't stay in business being fair. The person that starts a business or owns a business, of course, is going to be in favor of them. Um, and that's what it is with the record companies. They're not going to give you a fair deal because they've given you too much power. So you can take whatever you have and build and become bigger and do more bigger things if they give you too much leeway. So, and that's what's happened. Some groups have had the opportunity to renegotiate.
Mm.
112 actually found a clause in their record contract where they could go to Def Jam.
Yeah.
So clearly and they were able to make a bigger deal, money wise, with the Def Jam than what they had to Bad Boys. So, it there's times where the record industry has lost. Like, there are people who have sued, and there have been lawsuits and things, and where people have been wronged. But in general, I think that it's going to always be this way. Even though things are out in the open now and people can do their research, there's still that desperation out there. People every year still sign up to go to audition for American Idol or The Voice,
Yeah.
knowing, I've seen those contracts, knowing you're signing away certain rights, but they're like, you know what? But if I make it, though, they keep banking on that. But if I make it, or but if I'm successful, they're not thinking about what you're signing away. So I think we make, just outside looking in, I think we make a mistake of thinking that it would be different if they knew. I think that they know. Even the girl from Cut Close, Tabitha, said she knew, but she was hoping, they would get to a level where they could, change things. But she knew because if I'm not mistaken, she worked at LaFace.
She
There were
worked for
different people.
Face, and
Yeah,
her then boyfriend had already had a publishing deal, so they were aware that they were signing some really restricted and some bad things. But
yeah,
that sense of, okay, you're not always going to get what you want, and you can't, you know, get out of it. But it is the case where, because it is a case where people who have been, I won't say abused, tend to abuse others. So
yeah.
you have these production
That's true.
deals are with people who have had lost their stuff and they realize this is my chance to get my stuff back. Um, so as I said, I'm not going to start naming the labels that they were signed to, but I always just wonder if labels, because if people were upfront about, and things are different now, but in the 90s it was different. Oh, an A&R guy sees you in a club singing and they say, hey, we're going to sign you up, um, and we're going to make you, we're going to make you a star. But we look at, say, pop rock and white artists, and Justin Bieber is probably one of the richest people out there. Did Usher take all his money? Taylor Swift.
Right,
We start looking at a lot of, whether we're looking at the Nickelbacks or the Dave Matthews Band and all these things, we don't necessarily hear them talk too much about the bad
right.
management and stuff, and they make quite a good chunk of money. So do we wonder whether people like Ed Sheeran, who's a multimillionaire, people from One Direction, Adele, they all
Right.
started as kids. but they're not really rich. Yeah, I think at the last time 112 were each of them, not 112, One Direction were worth at least $50 million each. That's just, and they went on tour. So you start to
Well,
say, okay,
worse.
pardon?
I mean, well, I hate to interrupt you.
Yeah,
So, yeah, there is a racial component to it. There's a race. There's like certain disparities. But again, I think when you're talking about, there's a lot of layers to this. So I think when you're talking about urban artists or black artists, a lot of times they are, like I said, coming from poverty. You know, they're coming from, like, if you wanted to have a lawyer, who would be able to afford to get a lawyer involved in the negotiate? Who would? If you're coming from the projects or you're coming from working at the Walmart and you singing in a group, like, they don't have the resources to do that. And a lot of the other artists from other, okay, white artists, they, I think a lot of times they come from more
money.
privileged
Yeah,
situations and
yeah,
money, where, and a lot of times I think another thing is ignored is there are a lot of people that are actually related in the industry, and a lot of people are, the child of someone, we just don't know it.
yeah.
you know um Coco from SMV has a son. That's probably not an example because I wanted to use more of a white artist, but Coco, her son is a rapper. A lot of people don't even know that. Like, but there are a lot of artists that are sons and daughters of other people or related to somebody, and
Mm.
it's kind of it's a lot of nepotism that also goes on in the industry. But there are also on the white and pop side, like NSYNC. Who can remember? Who can forget? NSYNC famously sued their manager. Backstreet Boys sued their manager, Lil Pullman.
Mm.
He stole millions of dollars for them. They weren't rich, and but there is definitely no equality when it comes to the music industry, when it comes to black artists and the white artists and etc. It's just but it's so many layers to that. And I focus on black artists because I think that we come from, a lot of us, myself included, come from poverty. We come from nothing. So when you have an opportunity, um, I remember my first few songs, I didn't get paid anything. And I was just happy to be on a project and somebody could see I wrote this song or I can write. And I was saying, well, I'll use this as an opportunity to show people I can write, and I'll get some notoriety, and then the money will come in. And then I just kept getting taken advantage of over and over again because, well, you did this for free, So you getting caught in the cycle of things where you're dealing with a lot of people that are trying to get freebies out of you. You'll find actually when you talk to the bigger name producers and the artists, they'll even be trying to get free stuff out of you. So you'll be thinking, well, you're in a position where you might. I'm not gonna say the names because I don't want to, start rumors. But let's just say big name artist is platinum, and you'll be thinking, okay, well, if I write this song for them, they'll pay me. And a lot of times they'll be like, well, this is you paying your dues, and we're going to take care of you in a different way. We'll help you do this, we'll help you do that, or maybe we'll put you in contact with this person. So you're thinking in a way of, this is an opportunity to get where I want to go. Let me
Mm.
not close that door, because we also know the aspect of, this is a small community. They all know each other. And if I
Yeah,
anger this person, or if I don't do business with this person, that might close the door for me working with someone else. So,
yeah,
it's a lot of things that if you pay attention as a fan, you should also see that there's a lot of secrecy surrounding the music business. It's like a tight knit circle of
yeah,
people, and they constantly use words like blackballing and different things like that. That's a real thing. So you're not as free as you think you are. These things that everybody say, oh, if I was in that position, I would do this. You don't know you're going to do that. You don't know what the circumstances are. You don't
yeah,
know what the ceiling is in that place. You don't know where the doors are that can be closed. You don't. I know. It's a lot to it. But I
yeah,
understand what you're saying.
yeah. And I do remember the brief time I worked at Edmunds Entertainment, and John B was on the label as well as a group called
The third story.
Third Story. Yeah, that's the Third
Yes, I
Story.
love that group. They're talented.
Yeah, they had Jason. They had Kevon. Yeah, they had a yeah.
Hmm.
They did. The problem was that they thought they were going to be the next Drew Hill and NSYNC.
Drew
So they
Hill.
yeah, and they weren't. Well, Nokia was the A&R, so I remember Nokia coming to the building, trying to work with them, get their stuff. But I saw that these guys were not in it for the music. They were in it for the fame and the possible fame. They were acting as if they were already
Right.
famous, but before they'd come out with a record and stuff. Um, but yeah, there was a sense that yeah they didn't realize that everything that they were bringing to them, like you like this, you like that it was coming out of their budget. Oh, we've got Rodney Jenkins who are gonna do some production. Yep,
Right.
they didn't realize they're gonna be paid for it. So yeah, there's a part of me that says yeah, there's probably artists who doesn't even bother. Um,
Right.
but if they did sell 10 million, like Boys to Men and stuff like that, then the labels are in a different position to say, okay, let's look at your contract that you have with Biv 10 and see if we can bring you back in house because you've shown us. But if we don't get you to record, then um, we're not going to generate money. So we'll buy them out and then start afresh. But anyway, we could probably and
Go
we'll
on.
probably
Yeah.
keep touching about this because, as I said, it's changing, but it still doesn't. It's
It
not great
is.
for those older school artists
Right. And
that
I do
don't.
want to
Yeah,
say too, because like I said, I might sound like I favor the companies in the situation. I actually favor the artists. What I
yeah,
want, and I just want them to leave with this, that you have to be realistic. You have to do your own research. There's too much information out there
yeah,
for you not to do your own research, but there are also too many resources out there for you not to do it yourself. What I'm
yeah.
suggesting is do it yourself at this stage. That way you would have more leverage, you would have more to work with. So, yeah.
Well, I think in the next one we'll talk about how the artists make money from music, but
Mhm.
we'll touch that in a different day and stuff. But yeah, it was definitely good talking, and yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying the podcast. Let us, keep giving us feedback and comment what we might do differently, what we might change, because shows like this are built upon the audience. So from me, yeah, over here in the UK, want to say thank you and good day, and from Omar.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us here on Can We Talk? And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you got any comments or your own opinions that you would like to share, put them below. You can find us uh, Spotify or anywhere you can get a podcast,
Yeah.
YouTube as well. So, hey, keep in touch so we can talk next time.
Okay.